Sit back, relax, put your belt on, and enjoy the show.
Without my favourite saying, without further ado, let's get into it. Noobum, Game 1, the Western Force and the Melbourne Rebels. Mate, take us through it.
What a way to kick off the Australian Conference. Obviously, the score, Western Force was 7 and the Rebels were 10. So very tightly contested between these two teams. We saw Sidaleki Tamani return. The Rebels have just signed him. And then from the injury side of things, we saw Tony Pulu, who actually wasn't named. It was a Braki who was named pre-match, got pulled. And Tony Pulu actually ended up starting in the end, detriment to my fantasy team.
I think he ended up getting an injury as well. I think he might have done a low-grade ankle injury as well.
Yeah, Tony Pulu?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly right. So check the casualty ward out for seeing how far away he is till the next rounds. Yep. But to the game, we saw both teams have a proper crack. But they really did show a bit of a lack of class, and they weren't able to finish, and that was completely obvious, even though it was an entertaining game to watch. There was good attack, there was good intent in attack, but that was about it. There was a lot of intent. You know, both teams wanted to prove they could score tries, but it just turns out that they couldn't. It was interesting to actually see the Rebels change attack from the teams that they saw when they played the Brumbies and the Reds, where they're taking penalties, and they thought against the Force that they could actually have a bit of a crack, but they just couldn't get over the line. It was obviously a bit of a failure for them. Nels, did you think anything about that?
Yeah, look, I think it was interesting. Both teams decided they wanted to go for tries rather than take the points. The biggest mess up there for me was the Force deciding, last play, they'll kick the ball out and go for a driving maul to score a try. The ball, they kicked it out as a 10-metre. They were 10, 15 metres from the line as well, when they definitely had a shot to take points just before half-time. That could have proved the difference. It would be 10-10 here. It seemed like an absolutely ridiculous choice.
And then we would have
exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly. And even like the Force couldn't even get over the line. When Ross Halapeti got a red card at 70 minutes, and then the lights just suddenly turn off for some ridiculous reason. And then you saw the lady shuffling through the rules book. I hadn't seen someone sweat bullets that hard in a little while. I found that quite hilarious.
They were so rattled. They're almost as rattled as Cargie. What we're going to see from him on Thursday night.
The commentators were even saying that it was that close to being called off, so I had a good chuckle about that. The stats generally kind of reflected the score, the close score line. Possession was close, territory, everything, the line breaks, tackle busts, everything was pretty close. In terms of fantasy player of the match, and of course it has to be Marika Koroibete, who has been in insane form at the moment. I haven't seen anything like it, with 82 points, 14 carries for 130 metres, so nearly 10 metres a carry, 5 line breaks, 6 tackle busts, 3 offloads and 1 try assist. He's been absolutely outrageous.
How good is
so
5 line breaks?
2 games.
5 line breaks is literally a team's worth of line breaks to one guy.
It is intense.
Mate, he's been given, and he said in an interview, he's actually been given the freedom to roam around, and he's obviously making the most of that. From other players' perspectives, we have Kai2 scoring 65 points, Pincus 43, Hodgson Powell 42, and Old Man Kahui is actually been getting some good points recently, scoring 41.
Mate, Kai2 was really impressive, except for the fact that, quote, he was throwing custard tarts in the line out. He was absolutely shocking throwing that line out.
From Goog Harrison. And Nels, you were contesting the stats because the stats seem to suggest that the Force, they won 15 from 18 lineouts, but you weren't having that.
I think they flipped it. I think they actually won 3 from 18 and they've messed it up.
That's true. Well, any Kaitu owners were laughing the house down, aka my competition this week. So very good.
Two good weeks in a row from him.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. Well, Nels, do you want to take us on into the Brumbies and the Reds game of the round of draft rugby, as far as I think we're all concerned?
Mate, I can. This was going to be your game, but I'm happy to do it. This was such an awesome game. Brumbies, fighting hard and getting an early lead, but going down 40-38 in this one. Fainga'aua returned from his toe injury, which persisted to keep him out of the game early on in the season. Lukan Salakai-Lotto returned after his red card. Brendan Paenga-Amosa returned after his neck injury from the bench. We had Tom Ross start due to numerous injuries for the Brumbies, and he ended up getting injured. And I'm pretty sure Scotty Seo got injured about a minute and a half before him as well. So the Brumbies will be looking to Subbies Rugby, I think, 3rd, 4th division to see if they can find some props this weekend. Craig, you might actually have a crack.
Yeah, my phone, I've been camped out by the phone. I haven't got a call yet, but, the week is young. The week is young.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Fair call, mate, fair call. But look, this was such an awesome game. Went right to the dying minutes, 78th, 79th minute, when the Reds, Paisami decided to put that grubber through, and it was this just beautiful little grubber. Pattaya almost overrun it, flung around like a stripper around the goalposts to dot it down and score and win.
Else.
Oh, mate, so good.
He's a married man.
Yeah, mate, it was so good. But it was great to see Fainga'aua back, scoring a couple tries. That's what we've come to expect from him. And look, I think he gets hard done by a little bit where people say, he's just at the back of a good driving maul. The difference was you saw him do it twice in this game, and the Brumbies haven't been as successful in recent weeks. He just knows when to pick and choose, when to break off,
100%.
when to stay and trust the boys in front of him.
But more importantly for fantasy managers, he's never giving the ball to Noah Lolesio to come in and score a try.
I got both of them, so I'm happy if he does.
No, but he's not giving it up to a back. He's bagging that try for himself.
For sure. Another big game from Valentini. We've been quite impressed with him. I was very impressed right from the pre-season. He sat Harry Wilson down once or twice, and I mean, it could be a really big year for him if he continues this. You can just tell he's absolutely hungry. There's been a few years. Sorry?
I was going to say, he's kind of been the prince that was promised 2.0, really. We've been just waiting for this him to light it up, and it seems like this year it could be it.
Wallaby 6.
Mate, he has potential. He's still got some work-ons for sure, but he's really showing a lot of aggression, which, throwing that big body around, which is something we want to see. The Battle of the Scrums was an interesting one. I think the Brumbies looked relatively strong. They got a penalty, very early in the scrum, but then Taniela Tupou decided he'd just destroy that Brumby scrum as soon as they brought on their couple reserves, their third choice in both propping options, and just literally dismantled them. It was, he put on a class show for everyone watching, and it reignited, I think, some people's love of the scrum. I know it really invigorated me there. But yeah, look, possession and territory were pretty similar. If we look at, meters, we look at tackle busts, all pretty similar, line breaks, offloads. Not a lot to divide the two teams here, which is, I suppose, similar to the previous game, not surprising in such a tight matchup. But the interesting thing here for me is my man, Fainga'aua, fantasy man of the match, 75. Is that an interesting voice? My boy.
Well done. I'm surprised you didn't keep
Good segue, mate. Good segue.
How good. 70 points. He got 2 tries and 11 tackles. What a weapon. Pete Samu, he got 60 points. He also bagged himself a couple tries. And his opposition, Harry Wilson, scored 41 as well. But look, all round, I think this was such a good game for Aussie Super Rugby. Good game to have on free to air. And hopefully, we see more games like this. This battle between these two sides, I think we're going to go on for years in the future.
Yeah, I think
better than the Kiwi games. Go the boys.
That's it. I mean, it was almost a point per minute. It's what we know that the Aussie teams are capable of delivering that type of quality footy. But that's some of the best footy that we've seen from the Aussie Conference. Yeah.
Best Aussie derby I've seen in a very long time. Right up there with some of the best Super Rugby matches.
It's almost as good as the Waratahs having the bye. That's our second favourite fixture in 2020.